All right, today we're going to break down the classic intro riff of the Red Hot Chili Peppers song Scar Tissue, and it could be a good lesson in kind of using simple chords, triads, and seeing the intervals within them and kind of turning them into riffs, right? So if you don't know what it sounds a little bit like this. There's a lot of variations of it, but the main kind of vibe of it sounds like this. Okay, so it's kind of got this alternating thing going on. It starts on the 8th fret of the A string and the 10th fret of the B string. So instead of playing them at one time, you're kind of going back and forth. So I'm finger picking it, just going A to B. Okay, so it kind of seems like just like a two-note riff thing, but really this is taking the place of a chord, okay? And the chord is going to be rooted right here. This 8th fret of the A string is an F, right? So if we were to put a chord under this, and this actually happens later in the song, it would be an F major chord. Okay? Now an F major chord is 3 notes. It's a triad. It's an F, an A, and a C, right? So a root note, an F, it's 5th, a C. Like if you were to play this chord voicing right here, an A string rooted major chord voicing, you'd have an F, it's 5th, a C, another F, and an A, right? So if we just take the first and its 3rd, it's major 3rd right here, these 2 notes are taking the place of a major chord. So in any triad, the 5th can be implied. So we can actually think of this little, we can think of that as a major chord, an F major chord, right? And then the next place it goes to after this, we've got this little thing right here, these, again, 2 notes together, sliding into there. So we're starting on the 8th fret of the E string, and then the 9th fret of the G string, right? So the notes here are going to be a C and an E, okay? Now if you know anything about a C major chord, it's just a C, an E, and a G. So it's a root note, a C, it's major 3rd, 1, 2, 3, and E, albeit played an octave higher. Right? And then again, for this one, we're omitting the 5th. So we're just getting a root and a major 3rd, a C and an E. Just like you do with the F, we're just kind of leaving that 5th out, and we're getting this type of a sound, right? So it's taking the spot of a C major chord altogether. And this is like a really signature part of this band in general. Such an awesome band, and all 4 guys, even then and now, have always been great at working within space. So, you know, John's doing one thing, and he's kind of giving enough space for Flea to kind of do something else. That's why Flea has the freedom to kind of play like a lead bass player, because Frusciante kind of just takes these chords and breaks them up into little pieces, so it's never like a full, I mean, sometimes he uses full chords for sure, but that's what gives Flea the freedom to kind of move around in the way that he does, right? By just kind of leaving the 5th out of some of these chords and just kind of doing a 2-note thing. So we've got an F, and it's 3rd, and we have a C, and it's 3rd, and now we're going to slide into this right here. So you guessed it, it's another chord, right? But now this interval right here is going to be different than the other ones. We have a root note still, which is a D. The 10th fret on the E string is a D, and then we're going to the 10th fret on the G string, right? So this is going to be a minor chord. So we have a root, it's minor 3rd, an F, but then once again we're omitting the 5th. It would be an A in D minor's case, right? So this riff is representative of 3 different chords, an F, a C, and a D minor. In fact, later in the song, or if you just want to kind of skip the intro and you just want to play like an acoustic guitar or something, you can play it like a... Right, so this is kind of an example of how you can take any chord and just break them into pieces. In fact, a more difficult way to play it, but just kind of like as an example, is to use the full chords on these strings, right? So if we have a regular A string F bar chord, again, I'm rooting on the 8th fret here, which is an F. So F major to C major to D minor, you just take your middle finger off right there, right? You can play pretty much the whole thing. So again, you get a little more freedom when you play it like this. And you can kind of add like little kind of micro vibrato stuff that Frusciante is like a king at. Instead of, it's hard to do. It's much easier to kind of isolate those single notes. And even the inflections that he does at the end, like that kind of thing. In any open chord position, these notes are going to be available, right? So we said this was like D minor's spot right here. And every now and then, like I said, he plays the riff a little bit different every time. He'll do stuff like, just kind of like two pull-offs right here. This would be a G to an F twice. If we were playing an open D minor chord, the G to the F would be the 3rd fret on the high E string to the 1st fret, right? You do there. If you played a D minor here, the G and the F is here, right? And also, too, these intervals aren't exclusive to these chords or this song. A good kind of thing to think about is anytime you have a root note on the A string and you want to make it a major class type thing, just go to the B string and go 2 frets away, and there is your major 3rd. Now, if you know about chord building and stuff like that, you can make this minor just by flattening the 3rd, like that, right? So it's just kind of like a different way to see chords. Same thing with the E string rooted chords, right? No matter what key you're in, let's take key of A. You don't even have to know that A major has a C sharp as its major 3rd. You can kind of do the thing that he's doing right here and find its major 3rd, or go to a minor chord. This would be a B, the 7th fret on the low E string is a B. So that kind of shape right there is representative of a B minor chord. So it just kind of goes to show you the value of learning different shapes. It might not be your traditional shapes, even though they're kind of pieced in there. You can see that interval within the shape, but it can kind of alleviate tension in your hand if bar chords are giving you a hard time. So it's just really valuable stuff to know in general. So it's just kind of a good example of knowing your chord and scale intervals and being able to take any simple chord or triad and then kind of playing them in a different way. This is such a rhythmic, there's a lot of syncopation there. And really, I would challenge you to kind of just take any kind of chord shape that you know, no matter what it is. You can take like major 7s and just pick them, because it's a good example of how you can take one fairly simple chord progression and give it an infinite array of different sounds. Chili Peppers are a great band at doing that. But yeah, again, just a really awesome riff that comes from 3 chords like so many great songs do. So yeah, there you have it. Definitely, if you have any questions or comments, hit me up on Twitter, Instagram, or in the comments, and I will get you soon. Thanks a lot.